In the galactic expanse, among all the strange phrases, the odd customs, and the peculiar habits of the species who filled the stars, there was one human expression that had become universally feared. "Hold my beer." It wasn't the words themselves, of course, but what they meant. In human culture, this phrase had evolved as a challenge, a casual declaration that one was about to attempt something dangerous, reckless, and probably ill-advised. For humans, it had always been a light-hearted dare. But the galaxy had learned that when a human said, "Hold my beer," whatever came next would defy all logic, safety, and common sense. It had all started with an incident on the planet Vortak Prime, one of the primary military installations of the Threxians, a warrior species feared throughout the known galaxy. The Threxians were fierce, battle-hardened beings with a long history of conquest. Their empire spanned hundreds of worlds, and no one dared challenge their strength. That was, until humanity entered the galactic scene. Humans had arrived with little fanfare, a few ambassadors, some diplomats, and, much to everyone's surprise, an easygoing attitude that seemed almost naive. They were friendly, curious, and sociable, willing to share technology and eager to explore new alliances. The Threxians, however, saw them as a potential threat and wasted no time trying to intimidate them. The first encounter between a human delegation and a Threxian warlord ended in a challenge, a duel for honor. The Threxians, with their formidable size and strength, assumed that this would send a clear message of dominance. Enter Captain Jackson Carter, a decorated officer and, as it happened, an avid lover of beer. Upon hearing the challenge, he grinned, handed his drink to a fellow ambassador, and uttered the fateful words, "Hold my beer." The duel was over in minutes. Jackson had dodged, weaved, and used his agility and wit to trip up the much larger Threxian, finally pinning him to the ground in a submission hold that left the Threxian speechless. It was a simple victory, but one that established a reputation. Humans, though small, were unpredictably dangerous. That should have been the end of it, a quirky tale that would circulate in diplomatic channels as a funny story about human bravado. But the legend of Hold My Beer began to spread. Over the following years, humanity's place in the galaxy expanded. They forged alliances, opened trade routes, and rapidly adapted alien technologies. But they also had a habit of showing up in unexpected places, taking risks that defied reason, and most disturbingly for other species winning against impossible odds. The galactic races learned to keep an eye on the humans, and certain phrases quickly became notorious. There was the classic "no problem," which humans seemed to say before diving into situations that seemed, by all rational accounts, extremely problematic. There was "I've got a plan," which was always followed by something absurd, like using common kitchen spices to neutralize a deadly alien toxin or reprogramming a warship's navigation system with an old Earth video game controller. But Hold My Beer was something else entirely. By now, it was understood as a signal that the humans were about to attempt something that would be either genius or catastrophic or, often, both. The galaxy's fear of Hold My Beer reached its peak during the Draken crisis. The Drakens were a hive-minded species, known for their biological weapons and relentless expansion. They had been a plague on the galaxy for centuries, consuming planets and assimilating species into their hive. The Council had tried diplomacy, biological warfare, and even direct assaults, but nothing stopped the Draken swarms. The humans had just signed their entry into the Council, and though they were still considered junior members, they had earned a measure of respect and caution from the other species. When they heard about the Draken, their representatives immediately volunteered to join the defense effort. "Absolutely not," was the Council's response. No one wanted to risk a human Hold My Beer moment with the galaxy's most dangerous foe. But the humans were insistent. They argued that they had a plan, a way to disrupt the hive. And when pressed for details, their lead strategist Commander Emilia Torres simply shrugged and said, "You'll see. Just hold my beer." The Council reluctantly allowed a small human fleet to join the defensive line, watching with barely concealed horror as the humans marched confidently into Draken space. Everyone expected a massacre. What they didn't expect was for the humans to make contact with the Draken Queen and offer her a special diplomatic gift. It was beer. a potent, ancient earth brew that humans had refined to near perfection over centuries. The Draken, who had never encountered human alcohol, were fascinated by the drink. Within hours, the queen and her attendants were inebriated, and for the first time in recorded history, the hive mind's control slipped. The humans seized the opportunity. They introduced a bioagent coded into the yeast in the beer itself that temporarily disrupted the hive's neural links. Within days, the Draken hive fractured, individual Drakens wandering in confusion as their connection to the queen faltered. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had an opening. Coordinated strikes from all council species pushed the Draken back, claiming victory in what would later be known as the Brewer's Gambit. Humanity's casual declaration "Hold my beer" had, once again, led to an astonishing victory. After the Draken crisis, the galaxy finally understood humans were not to be underestimated. They had adapted to the galaxy not just with technology and trade but with an irrepressible spirit and an almost pathological recklessness that left even the most battle-hardened species speechless. The Council enacted a new protocol shortly after the Draken incident. Any human utterance of "Hold my beer" would automatically trigger a level red threat alert across all Council territories. It became standard procedure, and the protocol was immediately put to the test. The Arcanian Empire was one of the most ancient and influential civilizations in the galaxy. Proud and stoic, they had little patience for what they called human antics. When a human research vessel trespassed into a restricted Arcanian star system, the Arcanians prepared to detain the humans and make an example of them. But as the Arcanian commander boarded the human ship, he overheard one of the scientists mutter, "Well, hold my beer. I think I can get us out of this." The commander blanched, stumbling back toward his ship. Within moments, the Arcanians sounded a full retreat, and the human vessel was released without further incident. The story circulated quickly, adding to the legend. Soon, humans started to notice how easily they could resolve conflicts by dropping those 4 fateful words. They didn't abuse it, often they didn't have to. It had become a universal warning, and species throughout the galaxy now stepped back when they heard it, out of respect and, perhaps, a healthy dose of fear. Now, decades later, humanity was a fully established member of the galactic community, known for their technological contributions, their cultural exchanges, and, of course, their propensity for wild solutions. There were those who still considered them reckless, even dangerous, but no one could deny that the galaxy was safer and, many would admit, far more interesting with humans around. And so, the Council's threat system remained forever modified, an eternal testament to humanity's spirit. Every so often, when faced with an impossible situation, a Council member would mutter under their breath, "Hold my beer," as they attempted something bold and foolish in human style. The phrase had become a legend, a warning, and, in its own strange way, a symbol of hope, proof that, sometimes, impossible problems required a dash of madness. And no one did that better than the humans.